Welcome back to movementprofessional.com. So today I'm going to respond to a question I got on YouTube from Benchgod regarding shoulder pain with overhead pressing. So it's a pretty broad topic, so I wanted to break the answer down into 3 separate videos. The first one I'm going to just do here on Zoom and share a screen with an anatomy app to just talk about the anatomy of the shoulder and some of the areas that get commonly injured, and then also some of the muscles we might be trying to engage to combat the common injuries. So let me share my screen. Here I'm showing the Essential Anatomy app. All right, so I'm going to clear this. We'll go to Home, Reset. Okay, so now we have everything on there. So looking around the shoulder, what we're looking to do is just sort of discuss where commonly gets injured. Very, very generally, you got this upper trap region, which can want to get involved a little bit too much with the press. And then that can start to create a situation where the shoulder comes closer to the ear, or this attachment gets closer to that attachment, so that you're getting some pain and things are being brought upward as you start to press upward. So it's not that that shouldn't be involved, it's just that it gets too involved and we're not combating with other things. The other more superficial anatomy to look at here is the deltoid, and there's usually 3 different parts of the deltoid: the front or anterior, the middle, and then the posterior part of the deltoid. So oftentimes the front part of the shoulder will be where people report pain. So part of that could be just too much front deltoid, or we can actually look at in the pec here, too much pec activity. So this is just the most superficial layers of muscle activity that we have to combat so that, or balance out, so that it's not doing all the work. So if we go a little bit deeper, take a muscle layer away, we can see another layer of the Pec Minor. So this muscle it attaches right to the coracoid process here, which is part of the shoulder blade, as you can see in green there. And when that starts to get engaged, it'll pull that coracoid down, and it may point the scapula. If we look on the back side, will start to point away from the right down here. This angle of the scapula down on the bottom there will start to come away from the rib cage, and wing is a generic way to say it. All right, so that's another area that we don't want to be doing too much work. So the areas that we really want to be trying to engage a little bit more to combat that overactivity would be the external rotators. So we have the infraspinatus back here and the teres minor right underneath that. And so they're external rotators. So our idea here, and when we get to looking at a bar or looking at a implement like a kettlebell, our cueing will be to create a subtle little external rotation moment, which can be on the bar, like you're trying to create torque on the bar, you're trying to break the bar. Also, from a gripping standpoint, that's usually going to be gripping more towards the pinky side of the hand, and oftentimes lower down in the hand is going to engage more muscles up higher. So that's important to think of. Then if we look down a bit lower, we got the lat down here. So the lat, the Latissimus Dorsi, is going to be a muscle that is under the armpit, right? So it's a muscle that you can think of, it combats the upper trap up here from doing too much work. It's a big muscle just like the upper trap is. So if we can get more lat activity, and the cueing for that, since the lat is a adductor, would be to sort of pull the arm, the inner arm, closer to the body on the way down. So we're going to be trying to create torque by breaking the bar for external rotation, and then we're going to try to engage the lats by thinking about pulling the bar towards us on the way down and trying to maintain an idea of shoulders away from the ear as we go up. Because the lats, along with adducting the arm, which would mean they bring the arm closer to the body, they also pull the scapula down or depress the scapula. So they're a counter to the elevation of the scapula from the upper trap up here. All right, so those are going to be the main areas. Another area just to take note of, if I take some of the muscles away. So we have the 4 rotator cuffs. We have the supraspinatus. I already talked about the infraspinatus and the teres minor. And then the subscapularis is deep to this, which is hard to see from here, but basically you'd go under there and there's your subscapularis through here. But this supraspinatus is another area where pain will be felt. So again, it's the top of the shoulder, so generally we'll see pain at the top of the shoulder or the front of the shoulder. And the counter to that would be to get the muscles on the backside here, the external rotators, and then under the armpit, the lat, to get more involved. You can also think of this muscle here as the teres major. It's like a little latissimus. It does pretty much the same thing as the lat, so that's going to get involved anytime you do things with the lats. All right, so that's just the general way to look at it. Now, from a practical standpoint, you don't have to know the specific anatomy. You just want to be engaging muscles that, again, are more on the backside, trying to promote external rotation, and you want to also promote some activity under the armpit or in the area of the lat, just to combat the stuff that's up top near the where the supraspinatus is and where the upper trap is, and then on the front, not too much pec or too much. The other muscle I didn't speak of yet is the short head of the biceps and the long head of the biceps as well, coming up to the front of the shoulder. So the short head of the biceps goes to this coracoid process. So again, it would be front shoulder pain. And then this long head of the biceps runs right through the front of the arm bone to the socket of the shoulder. So we want to mitigate how much activity is going there by reciprocally balancing that out by muscles on the other side. The other muscle to think about which is helpful to decrease some of the strain on the bicep would be the tricep when we lock out at the top. So that's just a quick anatomy discussion about what's going on in there, what we're trying to think of. And then when we get under the barbell or under the kettlebell, we'll break it down as to what the cues that you want to feel are to make sure that you're staying away from the injuries. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll go to the next video.